Okay, okay. I think we are live. Yes. Let me just see if my earphones are connected. I mean, I guess I really don't need them. Okay. Hello again. We are live tonight. Me and baby Asa, he is going to be my guest for tonight. Um, he's a little off his schedule, so that's why he's awake right now. But I guess we'll just go as long as he is okay. And before he, gets too restless, then I'll get off when he's ready to go to sleep. So today we are going to be answering some questions. Now this I did a community post so almost a year ago now where I asked if there were like anyone who had some motherhood questions for me. So motherhood, breastfeeding, parenting, any of those kind of questions on here. Um, and I have two comments. So I'm just going to read them. I screenshotted them. So I'm going to read them and try to answer as many as I can. Like I said, this is really old, but I kind of got this idea from my sister because she just recently did a live or like an answering question thing on her video, on her channel. And I was like, that's a great idea. I can just answer them on my live. So I'm really excited to finally be getting around to this because I think this was while I was still pregnant. And so the first questions, it's a group of questions. This is actually from Esther Fitzgerald. Hey girl, if you're watching, if you will watch this in the future. So she asked a bunch of questions. I'm going to try to get through those. And then I have, let's see, another question from Faziola. Ola. I would try to get that too. And if you have any additional questions, you can just leave those in the chat and then I can answer them here. All right. So the first question is, oh gosh, how often / long should babies, infants, and children get rest? Yeah. How long, how often should they get rest? So this is a kind of a broad question. He is grabbing all my stuff on the desk that I have not cleaned yet, by the way. So it really does depend on your age, obviously. And I'm a big proponent of children getting the necessary sleep because I just feel like it. Well, one, when you're sleeping, your body has time to like rest and reset and grow and all that. So it really is important for children to get enough sleep. And so I am a stickler when it comes to sleep schedules. So like nap time, bedtime, I'm a stickler for those things. But so it really, like I said, it really does depend. So for example, Asa is 4 months, so he just turned 4 months, I think, on Monday of this week. So he still takes he still takes 3 naps a day. So his wake windows are about 2 to 4 hours at a time. And he does take a morning nap. He takes an afternoon nap, which is his longest nap of the day, and he takes a nighttime nap. And that's kind of why he's up right now because he had an evening nap. And normally, like he does need an evening nap before bedtime. And if he doesn't get it, he's cranky all the way until bedtime. So normally I can get him to sleep, and that's usually around the time where I'm like cooking dinner and stuff like that. And the kids wake him up. Like he'll sleep for like 30 minutes and they'll wake him up, or I'll put him down and he'll wake up. And so he doesn't get that full nap. So tonight or today, I put him in his bassinet and he was able to sleep straight through until pretty much I woke him up to feed him and change him so I could get him ready to bed and at least, tired enough by the time the other kids went to bed. So that's why he's up right now. But normally he would be asleep right now too. So yes, so for like his age, he still sleeps, or total sleep is about 12 to 14 hours. And like I said, he can stay awake about 2 hours, at the max 4 hours. But once he gets to that 4 hour mark, he's kind of, ready to go to sleep. If he hasn't fallen asleep on his own, he does need some help getting to sleep. So yes, it really does depend. So like for my other children, Saya, obviously she's 5, she doesn't need as much sleep and she's not taking naps anymore. So that's really exciting for her. So during nap time, she'll be up now, like doing schoolwork. But for the other two, for Matthias and Kenzo, they still do take an afternoon nap, so about 2 hours in the afternoon, and then at nighttime, anywhere between like 10 to 12ish hours. It really depends. Sometimes they fall asleep easy and right away, like their bedtime's at 8, and then sometimes they'll play around and Sometimes they'll get up in the morning and I can hear them playing around before I get up. So just making sure that they have that time to sleep and getting all their naps out to me really helps me as a parent. Um, let's see the next one here. What's the next question? Oh no. Okay. Okay. The next question is, how do you know the amount of food to feed them? Um, and so I guess we're still okay. I'll do babies first, and then we'll go to infants, children. Okay. So infant really is anything under the age of 1 is considered an infant. So up until the age of 1, and then, then you call them, then you start calling them a toddler up until I don't know what age you stop being called a toddler, maybe 6, 7, probably definitely by 6, you're probably like a little kid. But for babies, so before the age of 1, their main source of nutrition is milk. So whether that's breast milk or formula, that's their main source of nutrition. And you start solids anywhere between 4 to 6 months. It really does depend on when they're ready or showing signs for eating. Like table food, mashed up foods, soft foods like that. And I think I'll do a video on that, like signs of readiness for babies when they're ready to start eating regular foods. But all that to say that they really do eat. They really, for infants, their main source of nutrition is milk. And then you add in food slowly. So by time they are 1, they still may be getting breast milk from mom if mom continues to breastfeed. Um, but now they're eating regular foods. And I don't know exactly like the guidelines of how much they should be eating, but basically you just want to make sure that they're getting in their protein and their carbs and their fats, so that they can grow efficiently. And of course, if you have any like problems or issues that come up, you can discuss that with your pediatrician. And they'll always do their weight and make sure that they're following their growth curve for that particular child or the curve that they've been following to make sure that they're gaining the weight and the milestones that they need to. But basically, whatever you're eating, you pretty much can feed your child. And make sure most times that you're choosing healthy options or healthier options as much as you can, and making sure they're getting their fruits and vegetables, obviously. I think if you go to my plate, they probably have the guidelines for like how many servings of fruit and grains and all that. I'm sure if you've been to school where you did like that my pyramid thing where you have like the fats and the sweets and all that at the top in a little triangle, and then you go down and you see the milk and you see the protein, and then you keep going down and you see grains. So that's the standard American diet. You maybe found a different diet. So like sometimes I am vegetarian. So when I'm not breastfeeding, when I'm not pregnant, I'm vegetarian, and I do make sure that my children have a lot of whole living foods as a part of their diet. So we don't eat meat, like every day or every night for dinner. But you really just for me, I just really, I give them different foods. I have them try a lot of different things. I'm a chef also, so I love to cook and I love to experiment and I love to have them cook with me. It really helps them to one be interested in the foods that they're eating, because if they cook with you, then they're more likely to eat food with you, or to eat that food that they help cook. So I really just try to get them in there just at an early age. And then also when I do my shopping, so like when I do my grocery shopping or like my list for the week or whatever, I ask them what they want. So I'd be like, what vegetable do you guys want to try this week? Or what vegetable haven't we had in a while? Or what fruit? So like recently, I just got them cantaloupe and I'm like, I don't think I've ever bought that for them before. I don't know if they've ever had it, before, because I know Wawa sells like pre-cut fruit, and I don't think I've ever bought that. But I was like, I'm gonna, buy that for them. So I bought them a cantaloupe, I bought them a melon. They've had watermelon before, but just trying to get them to try different things, I think really does help. And cycling through food. So like I won't buy the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that I know that I bought last week. Like I try to switch the foods around so they don't get bored. And like I said, and it's also important that they see you eating the things that you want them to eat, or that are like healthy things. It's good that they see you eating healthy things, and then of course they're more inclined to eat it. But um I just try to make sure that they eat enough. Like I know when sometimes they're hungry or sometimes they just want like a little sweet snack or whatever. So I try to make sure though that they are eating, as wholesomely as possible. And I really let them gauge like how much they eat. I don't force them to like finish all of their food, but I do make sure that they try whatever I prepare, whatever I make. And that, you know, I just feel like forcing them to eat their food is setting them up for problems later on in life. Like I know a lot of us, some of us were raised, clear your plate, but that does cause a problem and some issues later on when you're like, are you currently breastfeeding? Yes, I am currently breastfeeding. Um, and hello, hi, thanks for watching this live. Um, but yes, it can cause some problems later on because when we are adults and we're looking at our plate, sometimes we're like, we gotta finish all of this, and it can lead to overeating. So I try to follow their cues as far as fullness. But I know sometimes when they're playing around, and sometimes when they just don't want to eat a certain thing. So I hope that answers that question. Next one. Is there a way to tell what a baby wants based on their cry? Yes, absolutely. And I do have a video plan on this because I think that this is kind of interesting. So, you know, babies cry for a lot of different things. Before they can talk, before they're babbling and all that stuff, they have the only form of communication they have is crying. And yes, you definitely can tell what your baby needs based on how they cry. So, like the sound of their cry, how long they're crying, and it really, it differs from child to child. So, the more children you have, obviously, you have a little bit more experience. So, for example, a high shrill cry or a sudden cry, like a burst of a loud sudden cry from your child, usually means, or it can mean most times, that they're in pain. So um, so I don't know, say you're out walking somewhere and your baby's quiet, maybe even sleep, and then they just burst out crying into pain or whatever. Something or burst out crying, something could have caused them some pain, whether that just be like, bowel movements may be hurting them, or maybe they got stung by a bee or a mosquito or something like that. So that usually means pain. I would say Asa, he's funny because he's like some kids give you a warning cry, and he does sometimes. So, like at nighttime, he gives me a warning, not even really a cry, more like a whimper. And I can tell, he's about to be hungry, and sometimes I'll get him, out of the bassinet and feed him before he starts the real crying. So that's kind of like a sign of what does your breastfeeding counseling consist of? Breastfeeding counseling. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Do you mean like tips for breastfeeding, or do you mean like if you were to, like if you're trying to schedule like a one-on-one counseling session with me? But but basically, well, basically on this channel, I do a lot of breastfeeding related content because, like I said, I'm really passionate about that and just trying to get moms breastfeeding and helping moms with whatever issues they have concerning breastfeeding, so that may pop up with breastfeeding. Oh, yes, 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 yes. So yes, I do help moms as a doula. We help moms with their breastfeeding. Uh-oh. We help moms with their breastfeeding relationship. And so a lot of that counseling is done during their prenatal, like our prenatal visits that we have with our clients. And then of course, after baby's born, we're there to help them initiate breastfeeding. So, putting baby into breast that first time. And then when we follow up with them in the 2 to 4 months post birth, we make sure, the baby's getting enough milk, the output is fine, and that mom isn't having any problems with breastfeeding. So whether that be how to go about pumping, how often she should pump if she is pumping, um, and like things that may come up. So, like, I know one time I had a mom what was she saying? I think she might have been having a problem with her baby falling asleep at breast, which, newborns are notorious for doing that. They still are sleepy and they kind of have to learn to stay awake for a whole feed. And obviously, if they're not getting the weight that they need to, they do need to be woken up to continue to feed and to eat and things like that. So yeah, so we as doulas, we help moms not just for the whole birthing and everything like that, but also a big help with breastfeeding. So any issues that they may be having if they're trying to breastfeed, any issues pop up, we help them with those. So yes, that is one of the things that I do as a doula. Let me see. What is the next question? You mentioned a good output. What is a good ratio for the output? Uh, okay, so I think you're talking about breastfeeding. A good ratio. Hmm. Well, I don't know, like, if you mean like ounces, like if you're talking about pumping. So for babies that are getting milk through bottles, it's anything between 2 to 4 ounces is normal, and that's usually how much they eat. Of feeding. But if you're feeding straight from the breast, it really is no. Well, there are ways to measure that if you're not pumping. And you can do like weighted feeding, so you can like weigh your baby before your baby eats. Like this is if you're really concerned that your baby is getting enough or not getting enough. But you can weigh your baby before you breastfeed, and then weigh your baby afterwards to see how much milk transferred from you to them. And if you are the breastfeeding mom, you can weigh yourself before you breastfeed your baby, and then weigh yourself after you breastfeed your baby, and to see how much milk has transferred to them. I know I did that recently just because I kind of wanted to see just as a gauge because I'm one of those moms that don't pump. So I wanted to see, and he does drink around like 4 ounces, I would say every 2 to 3 hours. Most times it's like an hour and a half. So we are feeding on demand all around the clock. But anything between 2 to 4 ounces is good. If you're pumping, you kind of do want to see, you want to just make sure that your baby is getting enough. And I do have a video on this channel that goes over the signs of, is your baby getting enough milk from you. So that's just making sure that their output, so like at least 5 to 6 diapers a day, you're having wet diapers, and maybe like 2 poopy diapers a day if they're being breastfed. Another sign is that they're gaining weight. So once they lose that initial weight after babies are born, they do lose a little bit of weight, and that really will depend on the baby. But once they lose that weight, are they gaining weight after that point? And do they seem happy after a breastfeeding session? Do they seem happy? Do they seem content? Do they fall asleep at breast? Those are all good signs that your baby is getting enough breast milk. Okay, I hope I answered that one. Yes, yes. What would you like? Do you recommend saving the milk? Um, so so let's say, okay, that is a good question. Let's say you are pumping and bottle feeding, and maybe you heat up some milk for the baby, and then the baby only drinks some of it. If it's between like an hour or so, you can save it if the baby, you feel like didn't eat enough, or maybe, I don't know. Let's say you have 4 ounces and the baby only ate two. Within that hour, if the baby gets hungry again, then you can feed the baby the rest of that milk. But I wouldn't say to keep it, especially if you already warmed it up, or if you have taken it out of the freezer and defrosted it and then warmed it up. You don't really want to give them milk that's been sitting out, or milk that's been like frozen and then thawed out and then put into the refrigerator and then taken back out and warmed up again. You want to give it to them as fresh as possible. So whatever you heat up, you do kind of want to make sure that the baby eats that. So that's why I say that 2 to 4 ounces, because you don't want to heat up like 5 to 6 ounces of milk, depending on your baby's age. And then the baby's only drinking 2 ounces at a time. You can always heat up more milk, but it's best if you just if you don't reuse milk like too long. Like if it's like sitting out on the counter, you don't want to reuse it if it's been sitting out too long, because it's like regular food, it can go bad. Let's see here. Okay, the next question on here. What do you recommend to do with the extra milk? Oh, that's a good question. And I have been seeing some really cool things on Facebook of moms like doing extra things with their milk. Um, so I know you can make like soap with your milk, which I think is really, really cool, especially for children who have sensitive skin or who may have eczema. You can create breast milk soap for your baby. You also can make like breast milk like pops, or like freeze your breast milk into like ice cubes, and then when your baby starts teething, you can rub that on their gums, or they can rub it on their gums depending on the age. I think that's really cool. um some people are doing like breast milk jewelry with some other things that I've heard of. Um, you can put it in you can use it for when your baby starts solids. And say you make like I don't know, sweet potatoes, and you just want to thin it out a little bit. You can use your breast milk for that. So there's a lot of ways you can use your breast milk. If even if you're cooking for that child, and maybe the child's a little bit older, and you're cooking something, you can add the breast milk to that in place of like regular milk. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do. So if you have a lot of milk, just be try to use it. Of course you don't want to waste it, because I know it's such a tragedy to pump out that milk and then be like it wasted. I know one time I had a whole bunch of milk pumped, and our freezer died or something. It was a storm or whatever, and the freezer went out for days, and so I had to get rid of it because it all thawed out, and I was so upset because it is a lot of work to pump the milk and store it and label it and then have to toss it. So yeah, be creative. I see some really cool things, especially with the soap. That's something I would try, to make some breast milk soap. All right, what else? Okay. Um, okay, how do you discipline infants? And so, okay, going with like one less than one. So infants are like, it's a little hard. It is a little hard because, obviously they can't talk yet. So sometimes they cry or they act out based off of, what they may be going through or feeling, and they can't really communicate well with you. But I talk to my kids when from the moment they come out like a regular person. I'm like, hey, you need to cut that out, or you playing around. I talk to them so that they kind of learn as a oh, these questions are from Esther, Esther Fitzgerald. From Esther Fitzgerald. She asked me these questions. Um, but basically, I just try to talk to them. And for my older kids, so for like Saya, Kenzo, and Matthias, I try to redirect them as much as possible. Like you can tell when they have just like wound up or just like overstimulated, and sometimes they just need to sit down, and do something quietly for a while. And I know sometimes even with when you have a new child, sometimes your older child or the children that you have, especially the baby, um or the used to be baby, can act out. So I know the Kenzo right now, he was fine when I brought the baby home, he was cool, but now I can see that he really like he misses that alone time that we used to have. So at nighttime when I'm putting the other kids to bed, I would hold him, while we prayed, and he would, go to sleep in my arms. And now I can't do that because I'm usually holding the baby if he's not asleep. And so I have to make sure that I give them that individual time that they need. Um, and make sure that if I see that they're too stressed out or whatever the case may be, redirect them. Sometimes they argue with each other, and I have to separate certain kids from one another until I'm like, hey, you don't treat your brother like that, you don't treat your sister like that. So yeah, a lot of redirecting going on. Okay, I think we have two more questions. Oh, can you let me finish these questions? He's getting sleepy. um How do you take care of children when they're sick? How do you take care of children when they're sick? So this is pretty broad. It really depends on the sickness. Hey Yana, hi. You see this baby eating my hair? He pulls and eats my hair, and it's just what? And he's not hungry. He's ready to go to sleep though. You're not hungry. All right, let me see. I'm trying to get through these questions. I only have three more to go. Um, But it really does depend on the sickness. So if it's just a runny nose or like a cough, a common cold or whatever, I usually let it run its course. I don't like to give my kids medicine hardly at all. Um, okay, this question is I had a VBAC 5 years ago because of twins. I mean, I had a C-section. Okay. I had a C-section 5 years ago because of twins, and I want to do a VBAC. Is it hard to VBAC? Hmm. My answer is no. No, it's not hard to be back. What is hard is finding a supportive prenatal care. So, an obstetrician. And that is a little challenging because you want to make sure that they support you on your VBAC. And because of a lot of liability reasons, a lot of them don't, like some doctors don't even, some obstetricians don't even take VBAC patients, or they don't even encourage it. So you really have to do your research and find someone that is knowledgeable in VBACs, that has a good success rate, I would say, and that supports VBACs, and not just VBAC tolerant, but actually VBAC friendly. And there is a difference. I do have a couple of channels on here about my VBACs because I've had two. Um, and it went great, but I definitely had to advocate for myself. And it really does depend, like I said, on the obstetrician, because you could be in a situation where they're not that open to it, or they'll try to give you facts about certain things. And I just say, if you want to be back, if you're a woman out there that's on their, whatever number of pregnancy it is for you, and you want to be back, definitely go for it. Make sure um kind of make sure you know the reasons why you had the C-section the first time. That will kind of come into play. But I've seen women be back, or after two or three or even four C-sections. So I know it can be done. It definitely can be done, but you just really have to trust yourself and trust the birthing process. Of course, you have kind of a little bit more, what's the word, like, it's a little bit more favorable if you've had like a vaginal birth and then had a C-section for whatever reason, and then trying to have another vaginal birth is, they feel a little bit more comfortable with that. But just try to make sure that you find someone that's supportive, and they can help you on, bless you, on how to navigate that whole thing. Because sometimes it'll be cool the whole pregnancy, and they'll say, we're for it, we support you with this VBAC. But when it comes time for you to actually deliver, when it gets close to your due date, then things can start changing, and then they want to force you to be induced, and then they want you to be, um, just stuff that they can just say that they want to do or won't do. But remember, advocate for yourself and stick to your guns. If it's really your goal to be back, you can do it. Um, just make sure that you learn as much as you can while you're pregnant, or even before you get pregnant if you're not pregnant yet. And yes, definitely check out my VBAC videos, because I have two on here. I think two, and I have my birth stories of how they went and everything like that. Um, yes, please thumbs up this video. And if you have like any, like, if you want to ask me specifically, like you want to tell me specifically your um like your story, what happened the first time, and what your plan is for your next birth, you can definitely like message me on Instagram and DM me there. And if you want to talk more about that there. Oh, you're welcome. Good question. Thanks for asking. All right, let's see if I can get a little bit more questions out of here. Oh, talking about sick kids. Okay, yes. So I really don't like to use medicine, like, at all. I don't like using medicine for myself, and I don't really like giving medicine to my kids. So when they are sick, I let it run its course for the most part. The only thing that I really do kind of like give medicine out for is fevers, because you don't want a fever to get too high with children. And I usually use Tylenol. So the one that comes in a bottle, where it comes with the little dropper and you just measure it out. Um, so yeah, that's the only medicine that I've given him so far. I know for Kenzo, he does have eczema, so sometimes an outbreak, and he'll have to use the steroid cream. So that's what we do for him. But yeah, I really just let it run its course. I do make them tea, like if they have a cough or a sore throat. Hey, so let me finish this video, please. Please, please. Um, so yes, that's what I do. And obviously, if they're sick, you want to give them a little bit more love and attention and affection, and hold them and kiss them. Make sure they're getting their sleep and their rest, so they can, their bodies can heal from whatever it is making them sick. And if it's something that you feel worried about, or if their fever is too high, or they're just not acting, like themselves, definitely take them, to see their pediatrician. If it's something like really urgent, you of course can take them to the ER. But if it's something that's just a little bit concerning, you can take them to their pediatrician. They usually have, if you call and say like your child is sick and you want them to be checked out, they usually have like the same day they can see a physician. So yeah, trust your intuition with that one if your child is sick. But if it's, just a common cold or whatever, I like to just let it run its course so they can build up their immune system. Um, and the last question from Esther is, how can parents work as a team and not separate individuals? Which is a great question, because even though this is a mainly motherhood channel, it definitely is a for all parents on here. So moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Um, so how they can work together as a team. And I really do think that that starts with before having children. Before having children, it's so important to have certain conversations before you have kids, so you kind of are on the same page. And like I was saying in my last live, certain things, that you say you would do or wouldn't do, sometimes that doesn't really apply until you actually do have kids and you're in certain situations and you'll see, certain things that you may like or not like. So yes, have those conversations to make sure that as much as possible you are on the same page. And I'll say even a step further that when women are pregnant, the men, the spouses, the husbands, the partners, whoever, they need to be as educated about the birthing process and the prenatal process and pregnancy as much as they can be. So you're working as one team even during the pregnancy. So then when the baby comes, you're learning things together as a team. And there was something else I was gonna say. Um, and there may be certain situations where like I know as we as moms, we are do it alls. We try to do everything for everyone all the time. And there may be situations where your partner is like, I can do this, I can handle this. And we're like, no, I can do it faster, I can do it quicker, or you gotta do it my way. And sometimes we have to step out of our own way to let our partners get that, hands-on experience. And they may not do things the way we do them, but as long as the child is happy and healthy, then it's fine. So yes, just working together and making sure that you can compromise on certain things that can be compromised on. So definitely listening to each other and having certain discussions. I think before children even come is a great tip, and it will help you down the line so that your core beliefs or your core, things that you stand for. Things that you want your kids to know or want your kids to learn as a parent, that those things are being applied, and that you talk about those things even before. So that way, when the children do come, you are like, okay, we're a united front on this. We got this together. And I have one last question. I'm almost done. This one, again, is by Fazi Ola. I know I'm saying that wrong. I have been studying French and Spanish, and so I'm probably getting everything all mixed up. But how do you entertain a toddler while breastfeeding? That is a good question. Um, and for me now, because I have 4 kids, they all entertain each other, so I can breastfeed. But maybe okay, so for like a family of 2, and you have your toddler, and now you have a newborn. Oh yeah, how do you entertain a toddler while breastfeeding a newborn? You can. I know I've read, I haven't done it personally, but I know I read where some moms who, have an older child, where they'll have like certain toys and books that the older child can play with only while the mom is breastfeeding. So they only have access to those things while the mom is breastfeeding. So it kind of makes it special for, both of them, and that keeps them occupied, and, you breastfeed the baby. Um, I would think they're already being That is true. That is true. Sometimes they are entertained. Sometimes they're front and center, just staring at you. And my kids, they've seen me breastfeed all the other siblings so far now. So like Messiah, she already knows what's going on. And she's just sometimes she'll do it with like her baby dolls, and like I'm breastfeeding my baby too and all that stuff. And for the boys, they are sometimes they'll look. I know when Kenzo was born, not Kenzo. I know when no, when Matthias was born, Saya, so she's my oldest, she would come over and she would ask for milk. And if you're into tandem nursing, you can breastfeed them both if that's what you want to do. But I didn't. So I'd be like, this is the baby's milk now, this is his time. And I just let them do something quietly. Usually they're not even bothered. Usually they're already doing something, so they're fine. Um, but if you do have a problem with like keeping your child entertained, you can have them sit beside you and maybe read a story or have them read to you. That's a good idea. Have them read to you. And they may not be reading words yet or whatever, but they can, you know, just tell you what the pictures are doing or what they mean, and you can kind of interact with them that way. Is it time to wrap it up? It's time. Okay. So I hope that helps. He is ready to go. I know. It's way past your bedtime. So I think that's all of the questions that I have, and I hope that I answered them. Um, if you have any other questions, leave them. You can leave them in the comment box of this video, or the comment section of this video, or message me or whatever. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. On Facebook, I am Tashima McRae, and on Instagram, I am Shades of Sage underscore TM, or is it dot TM? Oh, it's Shades underscore of underscore Sage underscore TM. I think that's right. What's the live schedule? I'm trying to do them on Friday. So what time did I start this one? Kind of a little late because the kids got to bed a little late. I'm trying to do them definitely every Friday, maybe 9:15, somewhere around there. I don't want to say a set time and then I'm not here, but I'm trying to do them on Fridays. So yes, I think that's all for this video. Little guy's ready to go to sleep, and he's just gonna just keep he's a piece of work. But anywho, so yes, I'm trying to do lives on Fridays. And if you have like live topics that you would like me to do live, definitely leave that down below because I don't really have like a list of topics. So for this one, I was like, I can just answer those questions for this video. But yes, that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching and for thumbs upping. I just want to say we are almost to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm so excited, and I'm very grateful for everyone that watches and comments and shares and likes. I really appreciate it. And I'm hoping to hit that milestone soon. So if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. If you're not subscribed to my sister's channel, her channel name is Tiana Hicks, and she does micro locks. She's also a teacher. She also speaks Spanish, and she sings, and she sews, and she does a whole bunch of things. So check out her channel as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next live or my next video, whichever one comes first. Bye.